Welcome to the Practice Autonomy podcast with Dr. Chris Griffin, your playbook for building an independent, resilient, efficient, and profitable dental practice. Each episode, you'll hear proven systems, strategies, and stories that help you cut insurance dependence, streamline your workflows, bring more work in-house, and protect one main thing as a private practice dentist: your freedom. Now here's your host, Dr. Chris Griffin.
Times were so different when I got out of dental school. And even before then, when I was a kid, I believe that most dentists graduated dental school and then they just went out and went to work in their own independent practice. And that sure seems like a really good way to be. When I graduated dental school in the late 90s, one of my best friends was the only person in our whole class of nearly 100 people that had the guts to go out and buy a practice and start practicing in their own solo independent practice right out of school. I was very close after him. The very next year, I started my own practice. There were a couple more people that started within a year or two, but boy, times have changed. And I am seeing it clearly, I think, now for the first time. It's so shocking to see the rise of corporate dentistry, coined DSOs and things just like that. It's so tough because we have so many challenges that are just insurance companies. My goodness, I wish they'd never gotten started, but they did. And then when I was practicing in the early 2000s, we even had one insurance plan that paid 100% on fillings and paid really well on other stuff. And you didn't have to send in an x-ray or a narrative for a crown. You just did it and they paid you. And so I guess it was one of those, if it was a really long-term strategy, hey, it worked, guys. You won to this point, right? Because it's not like that anymore. It's so much tougher than it used to be. And, I went from working a full week in 2007 to working a 3-day week in 2008. Back then, that was a novel idea to have a solo practice and work 3 days a week. And so it was so novel that it was really interesting to a lot of people. I lectured on it. I taught dentists courses on how to go to 3 days a week. But boy, it's not like that now. A lot of dentists only work 3 days a week, but there's not nearly as many dentists who are just independent dentists, especially solo independent dentists. And so the reason we're making this change in the podcast, honestly, is because from 2008 to 2016, 17, that's all I taught. I taught dentists how to really increase their clinical efficiency, increase their office efficiency, protect their practice from insurance companies by building really robust in-house memberships. And I kind of got tired of that, after teaching it for a long time. And I just didn't know that dentists were getting a lot of value from it. And so for the last 5+ years, basically all I have done is lectured about 3D printing, because I really love it. It's really exciting to me for whatever reason, doing in-house lab work. And boy, there's a lot of opportunity there. And I've done that. I've taught now hundreds of offices all across America. We've had dentists that came in from Canada, almost every province in Canada. We've had dentists from the UK, Ireland. I'm trying to think if anybody from Australia has come, but it's been a fun time to teach this, and I've enjoyed it. But I think for the time being, I may have said all I have to say about that, like Forrest Gump said. And in the 5 years where I've been teaching primarily about 3D printing and technology, I have just seen so many things that are just not fair. It's just not fair the way we're getting treated, guys. Insurance companies are out of control. It is ridiculous what they're doing to us. And so I don't like it. So I thought, what could I do about it? Corporations are tricky, man, tricky. I mean, some of my best friends work in dental corporations, DSOs, right? I mean, it's just true. And look, I'm not trying to be mean. If you're a dentist and a corporation came in and they offered you just a big old sack of cash for your practice, and you were at the time in your career where you felt like you needed that, and God bless you, that's fine. I don't have I don't hold anything against you for doing it. I understand. I've had a couple of opportunities that I at least listened to from dental corporations. It's just when they got to the point where they said, yeah, we'll give you all this all this autonomy, but the truth is, if it comes down to it, we're the boss. We'll own more than half your practice, or we'll own all your practice. So, at the end of the day, we get to make the final decision. When it came to that part of the conversation, my brain turned off, and I was like, well, that's just not going to work for me, because that's not why I got into dentistry. I got into dentistry because I wanted to be my own master of my own domain. I wanted to own my own practice. Whether we sunk or whether we sailed, I wanted it to be my choices that got us to either place. And that's just how I feel. And I think that's how dentists used to feel. And I don't see that as much anymore. And it just bothers me that I don't see the independent spirit I used to. And I had a real choice, when my practice burned down, literally burned down, and I was not able to practice the way I wanted to for 16 months. I could have walked away with the insurance check when they finally paid me, and I would have met my very meager financial goals that I'd set. But I wanted to own my own practice. I love being a dentist. I mean, doggone it. I've worked so hard for this, right? We worked so hard to get into dental school. We worked so hard throughout dental school. If you're crazy like me and you got married a month before dental school, then that was tough. And I thank my wife for putting up with me, because I was gone studying a lot. I was not the best husband I could have been, because I just did not know I was going to study that hard. So I gave up a lot there, right? If you went through a residency, you gave up, you were in school for so many years. Why in the world would we go through all that and not have independence, autonomy? I want to practice the way I want to practice. I don't want somebody telling me, sorry, I own 60% of the practice. You got to do what I say. I don't want that. I know they can wrap this stuff in a pretty bow, and some people just like the idea of not having to run a practice, but it's tough, but it's not that tough. And so I got to thinking, I've had fun teaching the technology stuff, and I'll continue to teach the technology. There's a place for that. Certainly there's a place for autonomy, for an in-house lab, and the opportunity it brings. There's a place. But we need to get back to some basics, because we need dentists to understand that it's not that tough to run a dental practice. Yes, there are major, major challenges, okay? Staffing's a challenge, especially since COVID, and that's not our fault either. It's not our fault the government gave so much money to people to not work, and they ran so many people out of the profession. That's not our fault either, but it's coming back. It's manageable. We still have a great business. If you know people in any other business, they just don't have the opportunity we have to work when we want to, work as hard as we want to. If it's such a great place to be in, to be able to say, well, gosh, financially we need some more money, so I'm just going to work some more. That's something we can literally do. We can turn it on when we have to, right? And if we don't need the money right then we could take more time off. It's such a great, great profession. And you get to help people all day. Are you kidding me? I mean, literally, we get paid to help people get out of severe pain in many cases. And what else is great about dentistry? It's not like heart surgery. They deal with very sick people, and a lot of times death. That's not it. That's not us. Generally speaking, our patients don't die, knock on wood. It doesn't happen. So you get to get people out of severe pain, so they really appreciate it. And you don't have to really worry about very sick patients, and you just have a great lifestyle. You're not on call at the hospital all the time. And there's just so many advantages. And so I feel like our way of life that was just maybe slightly past its peak when I started in the late 90s, it's going away, folks. The DSOs have grown so much. It's almost like the students getting out of school have so much debt, they feel like they have to go work for a DSO. And look, there's such a gray area. I mean, I know big DSOs where dentists don't make decisions. That's bad. Small practice, small group practices where a dentist owns 2 or 3 practices, they still practice, they have a hand in everything. That's probably fine. Hey, look, I'm still going to say my ideal is one dentist, one house doing dentistry, right? With the one staff. That's my ideal. Let's go back to Mayberry or whatever. Let's call it pie in the sky, whatever you want to call it. I think that's ideal. But look, as long as you're a dentist and you're involved, I don't begrudge somebody owning a couple of locations, but you get much more than that. You can't honestly say that you really know what's going on in all those locations. So I'm against the big corporations. I'm against that because I think we need small local decisions made by local dentists. And I just fear that lifestyle is fading away. And so what I would like to do with this podcast moving forward is we'll still talk about technology some, but what I would really like to do is I would like to help people understand what it takes to build a dental practice, that you can have a great lifestyle while you're running the practice, make a great income, help a lot of people, have a great lifestyle, have a lot of time off. Okay. That's my goal. And, look, I can't come out here and tell you, I don't know how to become a 10 millionaire or 100 millionaire by owning a bunch of practices and selling them to VC. I mean, venture capital or private equity. I don't understand that because I haven't done it and I wouldn't do it. There's no way I would sell my practice to private equity. Right. So what I'm going to do, because most of my material that I was using to teach back in 2008 to 2015 about how to have more efficiency in the practice, how to structurally organize your practice, how to build membership plans to fence yourself off from insurance companies whenever possible, just have a lot of autonomy in your choices. That's what all my material does. Now, back then it was geared toward, hey, we work 3 days a week and we produce 3 times the national average. That was our big phrase. But all that material is very applicable to a dentist that's just getting out of school. Maybe you've been associate a few years and you want to have your own place. Or I really think there's a lot of unhappy dentists and DSOs. Hey, come on back. We love you. Please come on back. Let's keep this a cottage industry. Let's stop this consolidation that's happening. Or at least let's hold on a few more years, guys. Let's try to hold on 10, 20 more years and see what happens. Let's survive the onslaught together. Let's help each other. So that's what I'm going to do with this podcast. I'm going to try to bring that material back to help as much as possible. My goal for you guys is freedom and autonomy. And God bless you if you found that in some corporation and that's what you really want to do. But I really think if you would think about it, it would be hard to beat the lifestyle that you can have if you own your own practice. And I know it's going to be tough, but that's why I'm digging out the archives, right? And I'm going to try to spice it up with current events, knowledge and stuff like that. But the basics are the basics. And if you're getting ready to start up a dental practice, you really need to understand what it takes to get it going, to get a staff built that's very strong and resilient. The structure that'll just, once you build it, it'll last, keep going on and on and on. And hey, I still love technology. In fact, we use AI in our practice more than we ever have. And so far I haven't fired anybody to replace them with a robot, but I have figured out a few ways that make the practice just that much better because of some simple like AI created softwares, or of course we use AI diagnostic stuff like that. So we'll talk about technology. Don't worry about that. Still talking about technology, but the whole purpose of this moving forward, let's keep dentists autonomous. Let's give them freedom. That's my goal. And everything we do moving forward is going to be according to that. Right. And we'll probably even talk about that my last 3D printing boot camp of the 20th. And that's a good number to quit on. We've had 20 really good ones. I think it's in 3 weeks. And so if you're coming to that, we'll probably talk more about this, but I'm all about freedom for dentists. And that's what we're going to talk about moving forward. Okay. And so be looking for the podcast. I'm going to use AI to help me reintroduce the data that we talked about 10, 15 years ago in a really modern, cool way. And I hope you appreciate that, right? Because it's kind of old school meets new school. That's kind of the way it's going to look. All right, everybody. Well, thanks. Thanks for listening. Be looking for all that. And if you're a dentist that's even thinking about owning your own practice, check us out. Please use all the information we're going to give you to help form your decisions. And once you buy a practice, I really think the frameworks we'll give you are going to be invaluable. In fact, you should already probably be a member of our Facebook group, Solo and Private Dentists. I think it's a really good group. It's like 3,000 dentists in there. We do not allow anyone but dentists, no staff. And people, look, if you're a dentist that owns a big corporation, just don't even join, because it's just not for you. Not that we don't like you, but it's just not for you. You should be over in a dental entrepreneurship forum or something, but not. We're local independent solo dentists and small private clinics. That's what we are. So join the Facebook group if you get an opportunity, and we'll see you next time.